Why is recorded in front of a live studio audience.
Oh, God, how do we do this?
So Damon's career has been fantastic. He's got incredible solo work that he's done. He has played with basically a kid's dream of playing for one of his favorite bands of all time, and that story is a great one. Which here's the problem with us doing this way is I want to tell all the stories, which would really ruin the show.
That's true. Do we just do our normal jackassery to start it, and then
maybe,
or do we just?
Well, maybe we should at least do this. Let's at least, especially for this one, because it's the first one.
Right.
Let's at least tell our listeners that we have a new show and what the new show is about.
Okay, that's good. Should we start this all over again?
I don't know. It seems kind of fitting that we would do it the way we're doing it right now.
This is Why, with your hosts, Heidi Hedquist and Luke Poling.
Hello, kiddies. Welcome to the program. It feels weird saying that for Why, doesn't it?
It does.
That just is not our MO.
No, well, we don't have to say it for Why. We can.
No, we can do it for the new show, right?
Yeah, for the new show,
which is our way of saying to everybody, thanks for coming along on this journey. We've got a new project in the works.
Yeah.
And we're not ending this journey. We still will be journeying with you.
Oh, we're taking you on two journeys simultaneously now.
Right. But this one's a musical journey.
It is.
As you two might say.
Yes.
Not you yourself, our Irish fellows.
Well, I might say it.
That's true. So, and probably our listener, Larry Mullen, number one fan in Dublin. Thank you for listening and spreading the good word.
Both junior and senior.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got a new show coming, and we're going to be pushing it and telling you, I don't know, people. Sounds like we're just at the bus stop handing out flyers.
We might be. You may see us at your local bus stop, handing out flyers, stickers, whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Should we tell them the name of the show?
Probably. If we want them to listen, it might be a good idea.
It'd be easier to find it that way.
It would be. Do you want to tell them, or would you like me to tell them?
No, you tell. You do it.
This is why it's a good thing we're not married, because if we were trying to tell our children something, they'd never know anything.
No, you go first. Yeah, exactly.
So the name of the show is Rock and Roll Grad School. The reason we're having this show is from feedback from our listeners and our guests about all the great music artists we've been fortunate to have, and that maybe they needed their own little land, and to make room for a few more of the unusual people that we bring on into Y Land. So now we've got two lands.
And that's why we've called you here today.
Yes.
Right?
To let you know. Mm-hmm.
This is an intervention. But Damon is sort of a perfect, he kind of, I don't know if he would like this term, straddles the fence. It sounds uncomfortable.
It does.
But he kind of fits both of these things as someone with a bunch of really cool stories. The idea of living out a childhood dream is something that's so wonderful and seems like the kind of person we hope to cultivate on Why.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's our dream guest who says, I wanted to do this since I was 11. That means you're doing something right, and or the authorities should probably be called.
Either or.
One of those two. Yeah, exactly. So this is a great chance for us to tell those stories, and we'll be reposting some of our music interviews from Why on this new show, so you get a chance to listen to them again. Mm-hmm. But we're not going to do that a lot. We're going to be going in deep, and really the show is a celebration of music. Would we call it that?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Yes.
So we'll be talking to musicians, critics, songwriters, groupies, fans,
authors,
composers, conductors,
the whole bit. And we're going to still keep it in like the spirit of Why. So it's not going to be your typical, because
we're hosting the show.
Well, it is. But I can
Yeah.
hear our mothers out there saying there's an awful lot of music podcasts out there, Heidi and Luke. What makes you
That's true.
different? So it'll be us. We'll
Right. So will you please welcome to the show our mothers
Yes.
to explain why our show is going to be different?
Right. No, we'll save that. That's the next big break.
Right. No, but I feel like if you've listened to us this far, you kind of get that we prefer to have an interview and a conversation with our guests that might not be the same thing Terry Gross is asking these folks.
Correct.
By the way, if any of our nudists end up on Terry Gross, I'm going to be furious.
I know, right?
Yeah, I'm going down to the studio and tell her off. Yeah, no, David Bianculli best watch his back when he's parking his car. That's all I'm saying. But I think this is a perfect chance to just talk more and celebrate more. And there's no genre we're going to be focusing in on. We're going to try to keep it all over the place, much like we did with Y, or have with Y. Why am I talking the past
I know.
tense?
Stop putting our show to bed. Our show is not leaving.
Y is still there. Y will
bigger and better.
always be there for you. There's going to be a sad basset hound in your feed for years to come. Congratulations on the new record. I was just listening to it again, getting ready here, and it's very good.
Thank you, guys. I'm beyond thrilled. I'm so proud of it, and I've said it a few times already. It's I feel like in a lot of ways it's the record I would have wanted to make when I was 19, 20 years old, just consumed with hard rock at that moment. It was before my career path took me into so many other genres and types of things. There was right out of high school and starting junior college, all I wanted to know about was Van Halen, Thin Lizzy, Aerosmith, Led Zeppelin, Judas Priest, Black Sabbath. So I feel like this is in its own way kind of my tribute to that time period.
I guess this is not much of an assumption. It seems like a record designed to be played very loud, because that's when it sounds best.
100%. I agree with you, Luke. It does sound the best turned up loud. I don't know if it said, maybe I'm some weird kind of narcissist, but I still am enjoying listening to the record myself. And, 3 songs, Battle Lessons, Can't Clap Any Louder, and Let the Healing Begin. I mean, I've had those on my phone since April, so they've been sitting around a long time. And of course it was over the course of the year that we, with the challenges with the schedule and COVID and lockdowns, and it's been certainly a unique path. Let's say that for sure to get from beginning to end of making a record, but it's been worth it. It's been worth it.
And that's how it's right? If you love your own work, it's right, because we're always our worst critic. It's not being narcissistic, I don't think. I think we're just naturally critics.
I love what you said right there. Yeah, if you love your own work. And look, I've been doing this a long time. I've made a lot of records, and I just think it does say something about the quality of the songs, the strength of the songs themselves, and the performances, for me to be that excited about it. Because look, I stand beside every record I've ever put out. I wasn't necessarily still listening to it, months after the recording, or even weeks sometime. I'd already moved on to something else. So I'm having a great time listening to this.
It seems sort of a little bit different than a lot of guitarists or folks who are known as guitarists playing with other people. It seems like this record in particular, the key to every single song is the songwriting, that it's super hooky, these sort of earwormy songs. I don't want to say how do you do that, because that's a little bit of a deductive thing, but are you always writing? Are you always looking for that next riff that just sticks in your craw and stays there?
I mean, I guess the short answer is yes. I definitely, from having a family and having other things that require your time and your focus, I guess I do approach it in shifts. it'll be like, okay, look, I need to put some time in with the guitar and get some ideas developing. But, I did lay a new idea down on my phone a couple days ago, like it just came out of nowhere. Like, well, I should capture that and I can revisit it later. But I'm going to borrow your phrase, Luke, earwormy songs. I love that. I love that because that does go all the way back to the beginnings for me, especially in Brother Kane, which is really my first real band and first efforts as a songwriter. The song just has to be there. Brother Kane had its success because of good songs. Black Star Riders had its success because of good songs. Look, it's great to have flashy players and guys that are technical and can blow minds. And, look, I enjoy that stuff as much as anybody. You don't walk away singing guitar solos. You walk away singing lyrics and melodies. So I am always flattered when people mention my name in context with some players that I enjoy and look up to myself. Everybody from Richie Kotzen to Joe Bonamassa to Steve Vai. Somebody said, Eddie Van Halen, of course, man, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the passion for me, the place where I want to make my mark is I want to be known as a songwriter that's a skilled guitar player. Like Peter Frampton, like Hendrix. Hendrix he blew minds and he changed lives. But that guy was a fantastic songwriter, incredible lyrics and stories and arrangements and melodies. So I'm always grateful when somebody says, hey, man, will you play on this thing? And I want you to shred and just go for it. Awesome. Yeah, I'd love to. That'll be fun. But to me, the measurement is always, it comes back to the songs.
What's your favorite song of all time? You brought it up.
Wow. Favorite song? Well, there's just so many, and I have a real answer to your question. And that answer changes from time to time. So I want to be thoughtful about it. I would say probably the greatest song to me of all time. God, this is so difficult. One of them I would probably say The Weight by Robbie Robertson and the band. Not rock, not hard rock, it has nothing to do with anything that I certainly recorded on this album, but I hold that band in such regard, and obviously Robbie did the heavy lifting as with the writing. But I mean, we could all three sit here for 3 hours and I could name 100 other songs. That definitely, that would be in my top 5. Whatever the other 4 are, that one's in there.
As a songwriter, when somebody again, the people who've recorded stuff you've written, you've got Stevie Nicks, you've got Ted Nugent, you've got Santana. Do you talk with them about it? Are you there when they record it? Or do you just get a weird looking shawl in the mail and just go, I guess Stevie recorded that?
That's a great question. And each of those songs happened in different ways. With like Ted Nugent and Sammy Hagar, the guys in Queensryche and Skid Row, I was in the room with them and we were like working on it together. In the case of Stevie Nicks and the song Every Day, I've yet to meet Stevie, guys. I would love to, but she heard a recording of my song that myself and my friend John Shanks, massive talent and successful producer and writer, we had written it together and demoed it at John's house, and he heard the following week through his management, I guess, that Stevie was making a record and looking for some more songs, and I think he sent her a CD with like 12 or 15 things on it, and she picked that one. And that was it's hard to quantify what that was like for me, from just what a compliment to have one of the great writers of our era, of the rock era, want to record something that I wrote. It's a lyric I wrote about my wife, who's upstairs right now, making sure the kids are still on their virtual school. It's just you can't. I don't think I could have manufactured that. There was never any thought of like, oh, this would be good for Stevie Nicks, or I'm going to write this for Stevie. I was writing it for myself. I thought about, like I need some songs for whatever my next record is.
Now, if my research is right, Sunday, July 15th, 1979, you were watching a double bill of Thin Lizzy and Ted Nugent. You were 15?
15.
What is going through your mind as you're watching this? Never mind, oh, I'd love to be in that band. Just watching those two acts perform at arguably the height of their careers. What are you thinking?
I remember what the outside of the venue looked like, because I think I had only been to one concert prior to that ever, back in, I think, January, February of that year. And my friend's dad dropped us off out front, and we were walking in, and the big sign out front, with those white lights, and it scrolls the thing across the sign, coming tonight, Ted Nugent. And it said, with very special guest, Thin Lizzy. I had heard The Boys Are Back in Town a little, but I had no idea about Thin Lizzy. And I certainly wasn't prepared for what was about to happen. And so, the whole concert experience was still so new for me that every second of it was a thrill. Walking in the door, giving the guy my ticket, him tearing it and handing it back to me, the smell, tons of weed in there, it was just, and I was a nerdy school kid, I didn't smoke pot or even drink at that point, so everything was just wow, 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 wow. So take that, and then 30 minutes later, we're standing on the floor, the lights go down, these two giant, police sirens lights start spinning, the smoke has filled the entire arena. And this band called Thin Lizzy kicks off this riff, and everything changed. Everything changed.
Yeah.
The power of that song, the power of Phil Lynott's star quality, and then this guy standing next to him with hair down to his knees and a Les Paul. It just informed everything that came after for me, that moment. Way more than Ted Nugent, who I was obsessed with, like all the rest of us were. But I was never going to swing from a rope in a loincloth.
Yeah,
and
no. Most of us can't.
There was no way I was ever going to sing a song called Wang Dang Sweet Poontang.
Come on. I'm a cat scratch fever girl person.
Yeah. You know what I mean? There was just so much within Thin Lizzy that I could connect with and relate to. And, and it starts to feed that voice in your head of like, I could do that. I would want to do that. I would want to sing that. I would want to wear that. I would want to play like that. All those things.
So the way you just described that gave me goosebumps, because I could feel all of it. Like partially because you're a wonderful storyteller, partially because I miss going to concerts, but I could feel it, and could feel that excitement and know moments like that in my life. What did it feel like when you fast forward and you get that call that this is going to be a reality?
Yeah. There were some tears, not going to lie.
Yeah.
There were some tears of joy. There were some tears of disbelief of just, how does this happen? Because I thought of my friends that I went to the show with, Steve and Aubrey and David. And if I could have turned to them and said, by the way, guys, I'm going to be in that band one day. I'll be a member of that band. come on, that's not gonna happen.
It would be so great if you'd done it.
Yeah. It's, just no way of knowing that. And it has extra currency for me, guys, because I did come from such a rural place, tiny town. Everything we knew about concerts only came from two places. The radio station that played mostly pop music of the day, but it would play a little rock and it would promote the shows. And the other was magazines, Cream and Circus and Hit Parader, and seeing the pictures and reading the interviews. And of course, now we all know so much of that stuff got sensationalized and, but it was working. It worked on us. We were
For sure.
we were obsessed. So yeah, to get the call with Lizzy, it's still, even when someone asks, "Hey man, tell us that story," it's still, there are components of it that are unbelievable. Like, it just, how does that happen? Why do um it was, my mom said, "Well, Damon, that's like a dream come true for you." And I said, "Mom, it never, I didn't dream I would join Thin Lizzy. That can't happen. It's unfathomable to think like that." You dream of playing those songs, and I had, every band I was ever in since then covered Jailbreak and The Boys Are Back in Town.
Sure.
So I'll tell you guys part of that story that I don't know that I've told maybe anyone, because there's a personal component to it. But I was in the Alice Cooper band in 2011. My wife and I were really struggling in our marriage. We'd been married about 8 years and 9 years, and we had 2 kids, and I was on the road all the time, and it was hard. It was really hard. And we were separated at that time. And I was on the road with Alice. I had come home, and I had told her, "Hey, we played with Thin Lizzy and it was cool." She's like, "Oh my God, I know you love that." And a couple weeks later, I got the call from Thin Lizzy's manager saying, "Hey, your name is on a super short list. We're looking for, and out of commitment to Alice, who I respect, and we were in the middle of a tour, and with everything that was going on with in my personal life, I was like, man, this would just be too much chaos. I'm, and I passed.
You're a very good man.
I passed. I said, "Guys, I'm so humbled that you would ask, but Alice is in the middle of a tour. I think we were getting ready to literally go to Australia, and I'll never forget. I was standing in the parking lot of this restaurant, and I had called Linda, and I said, "Oh, by the way, I passed on that Thin Lizzy thing." And even with everything we had going on in our life, she goes, "That's a bad idea." She goes, "You can't turn that down." She goes, "That's all you talked about when I first met you. That's all, every band you've been in, you cover those songs." She goes, I said, "Well, what about Alice?" She goes, "Damon, Alice has had 35 guitar players in his life. He's going to be fine." So she taught, she taught me into calling him back and saying, "Let's revisit this." So, and everything worked out.
That's
In so many ways, yeah.
Everything worked out.
Amazing.
And not only are you part of the band, you then start writing songs. You guys decide, that you want to leave Thin Lizzy as what they were and start a new group. Like, you are now such an integral part of that band's history. And it's sort of like, well, here's the Phil Lynott era, and then here's where they did some other stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
again, just as a writer, what's that like, sitting down being like, how do you shut that part of your brain off where you're going, "Oh my God, I'm writing for this band"?
Well, the great thing about that experience, guys, is I had a partner in the form of Ricky Warrett, the singer, who was fronting Thin Lizzy, and Ricky is the singer in Black Star Riders. And Ricky is a tremendous songwriter, guys, a proper writer. kind of this good blend between, the poetry of a Phil Lynott and the punk rock analogy of a Joe Strummer. I learned so much from Ricky. He and I both grew up passionate Thin Lizzy fans. Me in Alabama and him in Belfast, which of course Lizzy was from Ireland. So when it first came down that, when Scott had said, "Hey, I want to write some new songs," at that moment, and you may know this, Luke, originally it was going to be another Thin Lizzy record. We were gonna make a record, call it Thin Lizzy with brand new songs. Now, that would have been a bad idea for reasons that we all know.
Almost as bad as turning down joining them.
Right?
Well, you just can't. I mean, Phil was such a mammoth. He occupied so much real estate in the art that band created. It just wouldn't be right to call it Thin Lizzy without Phil's contribution as an artist. So we did the right thing to change the names. But in the beginning, Ricky and I were operating with a little bit of fear. That really drove us. Like, well, even if we do create a new name, we're still going to be in the vein of Thin Lizzy and songs like that and that kind of sound. The songs better be good, or we are going to get barbecued in the press. We're going to get barbecued by the fans. And that was a fact. That wasn't panic or paranoia. That's exactly what would have happened, guys, if we hadn't delivered a good record. So together, the two of us, we did the heavy lifting. Scott brought in a couple riffs and we molded those into some good songs. And but that was an incredible experience, another great moment. And there's no question that making those 3 albums and writing so many good songs with Ricky, it fueled what I'm doing now, because, then so much travel, still on the road all the time in another country. Most of Thin Lizzy's touring, guys, is not in North America.
Sure.
Most of it's across the pond. And, you can't just jump a flight and come home for a couple of days in the middle of the tour. It's just not sustainable. So, I'm grateful for the love and the respect that I got from the guys in the band when I told them, "Hey, I'm going to make a move and I'm going to do my own thing." And because I wouldn't be here without specifically the Black Star Writers experience. I'd probably keep making solo records because I've done a few and some acoustic stuff, and I've been a little meandering, I think, artistically with those solo records. But as you can tell, between my Memoirs of an Uprising from 2 years ago and now Battle Lessons, there's a style, there's a direction, there's a focus, there's a sound that's starting to come together, guys. And I'm as thrilled about that as any music I've created at any point in my life.
So
and the
good.
record's credited to Damon Johnson and the Get Ready. Who can you talk about the folks that make up the Get Ready?
Why aren't
Yes.
they ready yet?
I would love to. I would love to. The Get Ready is my 5-star world-class talented drummer and bass player, Robbie Harrington on bass and Jared Pope on drums. And I've known these guys for well over a decade. Jared and I actually played together in a modern country project I did way back in 2007. He was the touring drummer with that group. And so that's when he crossed my path. And, we hit it off straight away with just our influences and our commitment to, good musicianship and practicing, that kind of mindset. And I guess in a way it's kind of ironic that Robbie and Jared both, I met them in country outfits or situations. And they're two of the most hardest rocking badasses I've ever played music with. I remember, guys, when I decided I was going to focus on my solo thing, I had one rule, and that was whoever's in my band has to live in Nashville, period. No more flights for rehearsals, no more transcontinental nothing. It's just not sustainable. Like
Mhm.
everybody's got to be here, and that was the right. I think that was the right edict, if that's the right word, to lay out. Like, all right, this is how it's got to be, just to run my little independent business, independent artist.
Mhm.
And I could have never dreamed that I would have a band this great, guys of this caliber that brings as much to the table as they do. And, the other beautiful thing is that also in Nashville is Nick Raskulinix, my producer, my manager, Kevin Lee. His company is right here in Nashville. Kevin, by the way, gets credit for the name, The Get Ready. He had said to me, because I'd played in the demos of the new stuff, and he's like, wow, this is going to be strong. He said, what would you think about, a band name? Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Neil Young and Crazy Horse. You know where I'm going with this. Stevie Ray and Double Trouble. So, we got together one day at his office, and he had 20 ideas. I had 20, and we just started bouncing them back and forth. And he said, Damon Johnson and the Get Ready. And I was like, whoa, wow. What was that again? So it's a good name. It's a strong name. I think, I feel like there's obviously there's a powerful component to it, but there's also
it's fun too.
Yeah, like there's a celebratory nature to it. It's a pronouncement, like, hey, this isn't your mother's rock band right here. This is, get ready for this.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What's it like recording an album during this time with COVID and the distancing and everything? Is there any difference?
Well, it's strange. It's strange in that everything got so protracted from a time standpoint. There were challenges for everyone, and not the least of which was challenges for Nick, because Nick has his own studio. And the way a studio stays in business is to have clients coming in and making records and recording. And back in March, all of that stopped. I mean, dead stop. In Nashville, there was a literal shelter in place order. So you couldn't go anywhere. And of course, rightfully so, Nick produces big bands, guys. The only reason he didn't produce Memoirs of an Uprising, he was working with Alice in Chains. And after that, he did Mastodon, and he did Evanescence and Hailstorm. So these are big bands with big record companies and big infrastructure.
Yeah.
They can't afford for their singers to get sick. They can't afford for anybody to get sick. And there was so much about COVID we still didn't know. So I wouldn't want to make another record this way, just because it's more efficient, to have a 3-week block. All right, we're going to track, pre-production, get the songs together, work with Nick. He'll direct us, lay down the tracks, do the overdubs, do the mix, done. Every other record, I've made 15 records in my life. Every single other one of them were done that way. And this one was not, it took literally about 9 months to get all 9 songs recorded, get it, mixed and mastered. So that's the answer to your question, Luke, about how do you make a record in COVID and quarantine. It's not ideal, but hey, man, we got it done. So, you're getting me at this moment of literal like euphoria. I'm just like, yes.
Yes.
Oh
Don't
my
care how
God.
long it took. It's done. And amazing.
What a pain in the ass that was.
Right?
Well, it's got to be killing you to have this record, to have this band, and not be able to take it out right now. How are you guys kind of staying as tight as you are on the album?
It's killing all of us, man. It's really rough on the guys, because they're both working other jobs, jobs that have nothing to do with playing music. And, and here we are, end of January, and we still don't really know.
Yeah.
We don't know. Everybody talks. Everybody's got ideas. Everybody hopes and wishes. And yes, the vaccine is positive. And, I know there's challenges there, but by all means, man, let's go. Give me those shots. Let's get it done. Even after that, we still don't know what the landscape is going to look like for performers and fans and audiences and venues. So, I'm stating the obvious, guys. We're living in historical times.
Yeah.
So we'll see. All I have committed to my family and to the guys in the band is I'm going to work harder than ever before to spread the word, talk about the record. Hey man, I sold a couple of guitars so we can make a video and hire another publicist. Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
We're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out because the music is quality. And I do believe that whatever attention we can bring to the record is only going to serve us well whenever we do get the green light, because people, in this time period, guys, I've been so fulfilled and just kind of fortified by the reaction I'm getting from fans because they see us working hard. They see us doing live streams. They see me posting on social media, just interacting. And I try to kind of, walk a balance between bringing attention to myself and the record and try not to come off like a carnival barker, like.
Carnival barker is the last thing I think we've described that.
Come and see the dog-faced boy.
Well, one of the things that I don't know that I've seen, we're always trying to find sort of the beauty in these situations, just like you found the beauty of bringing this album to life. One of the things that I'm hoping comes out of this with as the fortune teller at this carnival we're all at, is I feel that now people can start to rediscover music, truly rediscover it, truly listen to the album, because now you're at home. And so you're going to go through sort of the process we used to go through of looking at the tracks and listening to it as a piece instead of we're in the car. Oh, that song, I like that title. Oh, let's listen to this one now. And so I think when it does open up, everyone's going to have a little bit of that revitalized love on a deeper level and be ready to rock out.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. I love that thought.
I think it's true.
Well,
for what it's worth.
That's energizing for me to hear a prediction like that because I agree with you and I believe that.
Adolescence by Damon Johnson and the Get Ready is available starting tomorrow, February 19th. For more information, you can check out his website, damonjohnson.com.
You can follow us on all the various socials. Our website is whythepodcast.com and has all sorts of additional stories and videos. It's also where you can sign up for our newsletter. We're also on YouTube, if you're into that kind of thing. And don't forget to leave us a review on iTunes, because if you don't, we'll call your mother and tell her that she's completely right. You would look so much prettier if you smiled more.
Why the Podcast is part of Mudhouse Media. Today's show was produced by myself and Heidi Hegquist. Our reluctant executive producers are John Sauvé and Sandy Stone. Our willing executive producers are Rachel Allen and Randy Jeanette. Our graphic designer is Samantha Mustonen. The theme song was performed by the Electrosynth-O-Magnetic Polyphonic Orchestra. This one's for Philippe. Thanks for joining us. Flash, we're coming home.
Shed your skin. Your words, they started from the start. And all that time I spent defending you, you were helping to break my
Nigel, is that you? Are you here, Nigel?